Good morning. My name is Bree. I have been a YouTube user for about 10 years now, since I was a teenager, and I finally decided to make some videos myself. Now, I want to give you a little bit of a warning. I'm doing well right now, but sometimes I'm not great about remembering to look into the camera. I'm still pretty new to this, and I also have a bit of an issue with eye contact when I'm in person with people, so I think that that is going to be something I'll get better at, but for right now, while I'm collecting my thoughts and talking, I'm not using a script, so I'll be just coming up with things off the top of my head. If I'm not looking at the camera for a little while, I'm just saying apologies now. I'm going to do my best, but I'm here to talk about something that I have not actually seen yet. I know a little bit about the situation because I'm in these circles online and I saw some things on Reddit, but I haven't watched the actual video yet. So what we're here to talk about today is I've been an H3 fan for about 8 years now. I found them in like 2015, 2016 when I was a teen, and I really wanted to talk about this situation with Jake Doolittle because I think it's so weird. I had been subscribed to Jake for a couple years actually. He did some kind of collab with someone like Curtis Connor or Drew Gooden. Someone in the commentary space that I watched did a collab with him, and so I ended up following him for it. And I did watch for, on and off for a couple years here. But then a few weeks ago, he posted a teaser to an upcoming video where it made it seem like he was going to talk about someone who is pretending to be sick for money. And he showed a clip of Ethan Klein. So I was like, whoa, man. If he's going to do what I think he's going to do, I don't want to have any part of that. So I unsubscribed when he posted the teaser. But I waited and waited to see if he would post something, and he did. It took about 3 weeks, but he did. He posted a video, and I have not actually watched the video yet, so that's what we're here to do today. I'm going to watch it for the first time with you, and we'll talk about it as someone who is a huge fan and has watched every episode of the podcast for like 8 years now. So I have a lot of knowledge of some of these things that have happened, and I just want to talk about this because I think that some of the things that I saw on Reddit that he said are a little silly, and I really want to go through it with you guys, so let's get down to it. I just want to say, first and foremost, before we even watch this video, that him posting it during their winter break is actually really cowardly, not even giving them a chance to respond to this, but I think it is for the best because I kind of think they shouldn't respond at all. It's so petty, but I would understand why they might want to because the allegations that he's going to make are pretty big. I also want to mention before we get started that I am not watching this through YouTube. I actually downloaded it and am watching it so that he won't get a view from me. I just wanted to make sure that I'm ethically watching this video. I'm not watching it and letting him get paid for this ridiculousness. All right, let's get into it.
Before this video starts, I would like to preface it with a few things. Leading up to this video, I was a huge fan of the H3 podcast. When I was at my sickest, the podcast was always something that I could watch to make me feel less alone. I even remember saving up money for my first job ever to buy multiple Teddy Fresh items. More recently, I was on the podcast speaking to Ethan about an unrelated subject.
We'll talk about that later.
To attend their most recent live show, and I am also friendly with a few of their crew members. But I saw a few very concerning things when it comes to Ethan Klein's lupus journey. And as someone who's been sick his entire life, I felt like I needed to make this video.
I think it's so strange that he feels that anytime anything is about like a chronic illness that he's the go-to guy. Like he's the man. It's just such a weird thing. Is it like attached to his ego? I really don't understand why he thinks he's the go-to person. It's so weird. It's so weird.
Not only have I dealt with chronic illness, but I run a nonprofit where I support people financially who are sick and struggling. As
You've mentioned that before, maybe once or twice.
Stand back and watch Ethan lie, saying certain things about his health that are just straight up misinformation, then I would be doing a disservice to an entire community. My goal in making this video is not to do anything but address what I've seen from Ethan and his behavior. Ethan Klein claimed to have lupus, made money off of it, and then admitted that he made everything up and self-diagnosed himself.
What? Pardon? He did not. He definitely did not. He has never claimed to have lupus, first of all. He's never said he had it. There was a time where he thought he might, based on family history, his symptoms, and the tests he was running with his doctor. But he never said he had lupus. He didn't profit off of it either. He didn't profit off of any kind of anything with his sickness. Are you kidding? The way that he just described this situation is a total mischaracterization of everything that happened during the Lupus saga, okay? As someone who was there for all of it, I'm telling you, the way that he tried to just describe that is so wrong. That is so wrong to take what actually happened and twist it. It's like a totally different situation from what actually happened if you have seen it before. That is so crazy to me that he just said that.
Yesterday, I posted a teaser to this video, and I've received more backlash than I've gotten in a very long time. So much so that somebody from the H3 crew direct messaged me and called me insane for thinking this. I also want it to be known that I understand the other side of things. I get that dealing with health problems can be a very scary time in someone's life, but when the health problems that Ethan Klein is talking about are completely self-diagnosed with zero symptoms, you have to ask your—
Zero symptoms? I mean, literally look at the guy. He obviously is having symptoms. He's having rashes. He looks like he feels like crap. You know what I mean? And he's been losing weight too. So the fact that he just said that he has no symptoms, I don't think that he did enough research on this topic, or he just selectively left out certain bits and pieces of the puzzle to act like he actually has a story here. There's nothing to this. He does have symptoms. He's acting like he has nothing at all. He's just making it up. What do you mean no symptoms? Are you a doctor, Jake? Come on.
On June 16th, 2023, Ethan live streamed an episode of his show, The H3 Podcast. The episode was going fine until Ethan said something unexpected.
This morning, I thought I had cancer for sure, I'm not gonna lie.
This morning? What happened this morning?
I got some, because I did a bunch, I had weird blood values when I just did the whole blood work to test my cholesterol and stuff. Was fine. My white blood cells and platelet counts were high.
Why is there so many cuts here?
Like, it's probably nothing, but I can send you to a hematologist. Well, that wasn't super weird, but then I went to the hematologist and we did a whole bunch of tests. That was, earlier this week, and they started coming in. And so, like, here's one, tryptase. A lot of this stuff has to do with, like, leukemia.
Saying that an elevated tryptase relates to leukemia is like saying that sneezing relates to sinus cancer. Ethan states that he went to check on his cholesterol levels and then seemingly read his own lab results and self-diagnosed himself based off of Google searches. He goes on to talk about a more recent test result that came in. This test is the one that Ethan runs with throughout this entire journey.
Before we watch the next one, I just want to say, it's a little weird that he makes it seem like he believes he actually has cancer, because Ethan never said he has cancer. He said, I think I have cancer, because he looked at his own blood results and he looked up what each thing means. Now, if you're not a doctor, you're not expected to know these things. He's not a doctor, and he's not going on his podcast trying to pretend that he is. He's expressing himself, talking about his own health anxiety, talking about the fact that he thinks he may have cancer based on these results. That's okay. He's not trying to say, hey, I have cancer, feel bad for me. He's trying to say, I'm sick and I'm not sure what's wrong with me, but here's what I was looking into.
Anna titer. This is also like leukemia and lupus and shit.
First, Anna titer makes no sense. The part that Ethan calls Anna stands for anti-nuclear antibodies. It's an acronym that Ethan pronounces Anna instead of ANA like most every medical professional does.
Jake, he's not a doctor. He's not a medical professional. Why are you trying to hold him to the standards of someone who has studied these things? He would not know that. He is just a normal person who may be dealing with some health struggles and wants to try to figure out what his results mean. Every single person has done that at least once, okay? That is not a weird thing to do. And trying to act like he should know what these things mean is really strange, man. I also want to point out that the way that Jake is making a big deal about the fact that Ethan can't pronounce different medical terms, Ethan is dyslexic. So it's a bit ableist for him to be pointing all this out and making a big deal about it and acting like just because he can't say something that he knows nothing about it. Even words that he knows how to pronounce, he pronounces wrong. It happens constantly. And if you are actually a fan, then you would know that. So why is he not bringing that up at all? Is he obscuring the fact that he knows that that's common just to make him look worse, I think that's kind of wrong.
This also adds to my claim of Ethan searching his labs and not hearing the results from an actual doctor due to the mispronunciation. According to the Mayo Clinic, in most cases, a positive ANA test indicates that your immune system has launched a misdirected attack on your own tissue. In other words, an autoimmune reaction, meaning this could have been from anything, including asthma, allergies, the common cold, or even eczema. Keep eczema in mind throughout this video.
Why does he think that just because we didn't see Ethan talk to his doctor on the podcast that he didn't do so? That's such he's making a lot of assumptions in this situation. I don't know about you guys, but when I get lab work done, I can usually see it before it's time for me to go to the appointment to speak with the doctor about it. You don't always get the results the day you see the doctor. If you have a smartphone and you're hooked up to the app, you can get your results before it's time for you to see the doctor, because usually you schedule that appointment not knowing when exactly the test results will come back. That's most likely what happened here, is that Ethan got the results before it was time to see the doctor. He took a look at them and wanted to know what the things meant, so we Googled each word there and kind of got a brief summary from Google of what they meant. Of course, it's not going to be the same as someone who is a medical professional that knows what it means, and that comes later, and obviously he wouldn't do that on the podcast. So this is a huge assumption Jake is making here.
Levels are fucking insane, and the note says homogeneous and speckled exclamation.
Homogeneous and speckled is an interesting finding, but this doesn't mean anything more than a lab result. In doing research, yes, homogeneous and speckled can mean a specific type of lupus. But there have also been many ANA test results that come back homogeneous and speckled where the diagnosis turned out to be eczema.
Well, I'll tell you just so you don't get worried.
Okay.
I wrote the doctor this morning. I was like, I'm super stressed out. Like, what's going on with these? And he just wrote me back.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel a little better. And actually, this morning I had a conversation with ChatGPT that made me feel a little better too.
Oh boy.
A conversation.
Oh boy.
I did.
I love the
doctor, it doesn't seem like
GPT
good
stuff.
results on the taste test. I'm stressing about it. And he said, it's not a very high elevation. I would not be stressed about it. Still waiting for the molecular studies.
See, that's another point there to me, is that the reason he hadn't really talked to his doctor much about this yet is because all of the results hadn't come back yet. So he messaged the doctor when he got the initial results, but they were waiting on some other more specialized blood results, which, you know, there can be multiple orders at the same time for different kinds of blood tests, and they don't always come back at the same time, especially if they're sent to a different lab. There can be differences in times there. So again, none of this is proof of anything, honestly.
GPT was like, it's probably not leukemia.
Oh, good.
It could be lupus, but I don't have enough.
Reaching out to your doctor after looking at lab results is exactly what they're there for. And the doctor said that there was nothing to worry about.
He said there's nothing to worry about yet, but he also said there's other tests. So again, this wasn't the end of the situation yet. He said, so far, with what we have right now, nothing to worry about. But that doesn't mean that Ethan isn't going to worry. He has health anxiety. Of course he's going to still worry about it. There's a possibility that he could still have lupus. And I know from looking into this situation that lupus can very often be misdiagnosed. And you have to go get a second or a third opinion to make sure that you don't have it. You know what I mean? So there's not always a lot of certainty in these situations. And the fact that he thinks that it's all or nothing, the way that he phrases these things, it's so weird. I just don't understand why he thought he had anything here.
But according to Ethan, ChatGPT made him feel better, saying it's not leukemia, but it could still be lupus? I put this to the test. When talking to ChatGPT with the same lab results, the chatbot consistently says, talk to your doctor and basically don't take anything it's saying as fact.
Does he not realize that they use the different prompts on ChatGPT? Because I don't think that he knows that they do. They don't use the base level of ChatGPT because almost everything that they would ever want to ask that program would just give them like a generic result. Oh, we can't tell you that. They use those different scripts, in case you've never heard of them. There's these different scripts people have made that basically, it's like a prompt that you type into ChatGPT, and then it helps it so it can get around those blocks and actually give you an answer. Most likely, that's what they used. You know what I mean? They didn't use the base level, oh, we're not going to tell you anything. And also, of course, he would feel better when he hears it's probably not leukemia, but it could be lupus. Nobody wants to have leukemia. That's obviously worse than lupus. He would still be worried that there is a possibility. Again, this stuff, like, he keeps pulling out all these facts, right? All these facts that he thinks support his case. And it's all just a big nothing burger. I don't understand why he even made this video. I skipped a little bit of the video because it was just Jake talking about what lupus actually is, that it affects mostly women, and then there's a clip of the podcast where Ethan goes through all of the lupus symptoms and says that he doesn't have any of them except the rashes. He also downplays the rash a little bit, saying he doesn't get them anymore, but he continued to get them a lot after that point in time, so that is still a major symptom that he is having. And Jake continues to talk about how the fact that Ethan has no symptoms. But the thing is, even if he only has one of the symptoms of lupus, his doctor has told him that he might have lupus. So of course he's going to still be keeping it in mind just in case. I've been told while trying to get a diagnosis for my own chronic pain that I might have many different things. And every single time I've been told I might have one, I'm definitely stressed about it. I'm looking into it. Even if my symptoms don't really fit what it is, you're still gonna keep it in mind because that's what your doctor has told you. Let's continue.
It's a phenomenal question to ask. What could it be? With most lupus diagnoses being based off of symptoms, and according to Ethan, he has none whatsoever, you would think this would be the end of the AI lupus diagnosis. But boy, is that wrong.
Because at first it was like my blood platelets were super high and my white blood cells were super high.
And that means one of those?
Not super high, I guess, but it was above the normal. And my original general doctor was like, it could be that you just have high values on that. And it's fine. You can see my platelets are pretty high, 530. A certain type of white blood cell is just a little bit high, just a little bit over the norm.
So probably
get down to the
tri-spate.
This one stressed me out because it's almost double the normal range. Hopefully the doctors are listening. The anatiter one fucked me up. It says the normal value is between 1 to 40 and 1 to 80. Mine is 1 to 320. The lab that did this, they wrote an exclamation in red after this shit.
Right.
So did he
that
give
would
you a
definitely
reasoning why, or
not yet? He says it's not a very high elevation. I would not be stressed about it. Still waiting for the molecular studies. So I guess there's more test results he's still waiting on. But the good news is my cholesterol's fine. If I don't die of cancer before I have a heart attack. So the weird thing about this is that I did a blood test a year ago.
Yeah.
And my platelets and white blood cells were elevated back then too. Ethan is
So
being
it's
a
been
little bit
ongoing.
hypochondriac. Are you
No
fucking
symptoms,
kidding,
though.
dude?
No symptoms.
No. This isn't hypochondriac. Stop it.
According to Ethan, in the past, he has had lab results where his white blood cell count was elevated, which I believe is connected to his GERD diagnosis because, well, later in this video, his doctor says it is. Also, saying that you're not a hypochondriac and then following it up with this is wild.
Well, the good news is if I do have cancer, because I'm not symptomatic at all. So if I do, we caught it, I guess, earlier than I would have if I started having symptoms. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But I think this idea of cancer seems unlikely based on what ChatGPT told me, and the doctor told me not to worry, so I'm trusting him on that one. But if you look up all the ones that I'm abnormal for, it all is like you have leukemia or lupus. I'll take lupus any day, bro. Hit me with that lupus.
Right,
Hit me
over
with
cancer.
that lupus. Not only undermines people who have lupus's experiences, but
No, it
also
does
makes it
not.
seem like a lupus diagnosis is an easy thing to come by.
How did he pull that much from saying that between leukemia and lupus that Ethan would rather have lupus? Of course, you would never choose to have cancer over something else that's still a chronic illness but a little less dangerous to your life. Cancer can kill you, and I'm pretty sure lupus is not going to kill you the moment that you get diagnosed with it. It's very uncomfortable, I'm sure. It causes a lot of pain. It's debilitating, but it is not the same as cancer. So he's just putting so many words in Ethan's mouth. I don't know where he's pulling all of these things. Like he's adding so many little details that are not part of the story at all just to make it look more nefarious. This is so weird. I just can't believe that he is putting words in his mouth like that.
Also, he just said the idea of cancer seems unlikely based on what ChatGPT told him. But he follows up by saying, according to ChatGPT, he has leukemia or lupus.
This idea of cancer seems unlikely based on what ChatGPT told me. But if you look up all the ones that I'm abnormal for, it all is like, you have leukemia or lupus. Oh, it also suggested Sjogren's syndrome. The ChatGPT suggested that, but I don't know what the fuck that is.
These chronic illnesses like Sjogren's syndrome that Ethan keeps thinking he has are predominantly in women, which he fails to mention multiple times.
Why does he have to mention that it's predominantly women? If he is being told by his doctor he could have it, he would still mention it because his doctor said he might have it. It doesn't matter that it's predominantly women. Men still get these things. It's just way less common. So you can't fully write it off just because mostly women get it. That's just such a weird thing to say. I know I keep using the word weird, but this is so weird. I just don't understand why he's saying these things when they are so far. It's like such a stretch, man. It's like he stretched this thing out into like the tiniest little ribbon of taffy. I don't get it. I don't get why he made this video.
According to Johns Hopkins, most people who are diagnosed with Sjogren's syndrome are 40 and older, and women are as much as 10 times more likely to develop it than men. I'm not saying it's impossible to be diagnosed with it as a man, but you would think that if Ethan did any amount of research or spoke to a doctor instead of ChatGPT, his worries would be lessened. Also, with 0 symptoms, his likelihood of having any of these things is so much smaller.
Oh, God.
Again, not 0 symptoms. He has the rashes. That is a thing that's happening. You can't deny that it's happening. He did not say he has no symptoms. He said he only has 1, okay? I understand it's not that big of a difference, but it's enough that he is mischaracterizing by saying that.
Somebody donated and said that their boyfriend died shortly after a lupus diagnosis, and instead of empathizing, Ethan spews out more ChatGPT info he's received and says people who get it treated can live a normal life.
Yeah, because they can. What he said is true. He's nitpicking it. So many tiny little things. And the fact that he's acting like Ethan has no empathy for the person who sent that donation. Did you not hear him say he's sorry for her loss? Because he definitely did. He was talking about his struggles with health. She brought up that someone that she knows has died from the thing, lupus, that he thinks he might have, okay? And that was scary to him enough where he made the joke. A lot of people joke about their pain, okay? He's really anxious and worried. He makes a joke that someone's saying something about that makes him more worried. Makes a joke to mute her, block her, get her out of here, because he doesn't want to think about the fact that lupus can kill you, because he might have it. Again, this is all totally normal behavior for somebody who is worried they might have a chronic illness.
Getting into the next episode that Ethan talks about his health in, we get a few updates on what could be going on.
So I have 2 doctors. I've got my general doctor and my hematologist now, and I've been messaging them both panicking. So let's see who got back to me. I mean, I'm so fucked. What is not wrong with me? Okay, now he says regarding the labs, the ANA is something interesting.
ANA, see, he did speak to a doctor about it, Jake.
Symptoms before interpreting it. I think we are looking for a plausible GI issue that needs to be ruled out, as some of these diseases can elevate ANA, like possibly the esophagitis. Yeah, I'm waiting for the hematologist, but he made me feel better on Friday when he messaged me. He says, I don't think this is a new and separate problem than the one we discussed.
Oh no. Ethan had already spoken to his doctor about his levels, and the general doctor said that it's most likely an esophageal issue, which Ethan has had problems with for a long amount of time. But a new diagnosis seems to almost excite Ethan, so much so that he runs with these claims for over a month after his general doctor said it's not something more than his prior diagnosis.
Did he just really think that... He really thinks that Ethan is excited that he might have another thing wrong with him? He did not sound excited at all to me in that clip. He sounded worried, nervous, and really just not sure about anything. He was just reading what his doctor said. He said the doctor made him feel a little better about it. Hopefully that is the case, that it was just something to do with his GERD. That would be much easier than dealing with lupus or leukemia. He also just made it seem like Ethan has been claiming for months that he has lupus. When has he ever said he has lupus? I would really like to see that clip, because he keeps saying these claims, these claims. None of these are claims of having lupus, Jake. Come on.
Cheers, my dude.
Cheers, my dude.
Doctor, by the way. He's so awesome. He's so nice. It's so nice to have a good doctor who, like, I just trust I just trust him that he knows what he's talking about. He gets back to me. And
Ethan claims to trust his doctor and like him a lot, but on the other hand, ChatGPT is giving a new, exciting diagnosis.
Exciting?
So I'll ask you again, why is he doing this?
I don't understand why he thinks Ethan is excited. I don't think he knows what excitement actually looks like. Plus, just because you trust and like your doctor doesn't mean they're always going to be right. Anytime any type of health thing is going on, you should get at least 2 opinions about it. Whether it's your general and a specialist, or you go to 2 doctors that you've never seen before to make sure there's no bias or anything because they've seen you before or know about other symptoms that you had. Because sometimes a clean slate can help you in the long run to try to get a diagnosis. Sometimes the people that have been seeing you for years, they know you, but they have some biases that they don't even realize they have. So it's always good to get multiple doctors to look into it. And him trying to say that he is sticking with what ChatGPT is telling him over what his doctor is telling him just because he's excited to have another diagnosis under his belt, I don't get it. There is no proof that screams, yes, Ethan wants to be sick to me. Like, again, all of this is such a stretch. I just can't believe that he really thought that people would believe this. The only people that are going to believe this are people that already hate Ethan for whatever other reason, whether they're a Fallen fan or they're a right-wing person or they don't like his political views, whatever it is. This is so silly.
During the initial stream where Ethan talks about his health problems, he received $1,550.42 in donations. These were either relating to his health or gifted memberships during the time where he expressed his medical anxieties. Some of those donations gave better advice than ChatGPT did, but Ethan seemed to ignore them.
Ethan doesn't look at those, okay? They are usually read out by like Dan or AB or someone on the crew, not Ethan. Also, do you know how long it would have taken for someone to add up all of those, the memberships and the donations that people gave? You would have to watch the entire live stream back with the chat on and add up each number that you see pop up. And keep track of the fact that it's not that one that's up for a while, that you're not counting it more than once. I don't understand how this was worth it for him, like, to do that. It's really desperate, I think. I think he was just desperate to have something to make a video about. I think he's running out of ideas because, again, this is such a big nothing burger.
Sorry, I just wanted to jump in here for a little bit because people online are saying that nobody with lupus or chronic illness actually donated to Ethan thinking that he was actually sick. I wanted to read all of them. I went through thousands of donations over.
Why? Why did you do that? You didn't have to do that. I think it's kind of weird to audit someone else's donations, man.
For the 2 to 3 months that Ethan was doing this.
This is just a portion of them.
Oh, first it was 1 month. Now it's 2 to 3. Okay.
I recorded myself reading all of the donations from people who are chronically ill, and then it turned out to be like 8 minutes long, so here's a spreadsheet.
$20 on June 16th. I had cancer, dude. Sucked, but the science is so advanced these days, and if you catch it early, chef's kiss. $10 June 19th. I have esophilic esophagitis and acid reflux. It is pretty consistent with your coughing up. I would get an upper endoscopy, and if you can, get a sleep study. $5 July 25th. I just found out I have stage 3 kidney disease. Chronic illness is tough. $10 July 26th. Took 5 years to get a lupus diagnosis at 20 years old last year. Such a long battle. Finding a great rheumatologist is key. Best wishes to you. $10 August 16th. When I was diagnosed with cancer, I had an ultrasound result that was sent to me with no context or doctor note that basically said it was probably cancer. I also got the results before my providers. If I were Ethan, I would feel terrible for receiving donations from people who have a confirmed diagnosis of something I don't. But
what? Why? What? He keeps making all these assertions that are just so confusing to me. Like, all of those people that donated, they donated money because they wanted to donate to Ethan. They probably would have donated no matter what, but it happened to be that they're talking about chronic illness, and most of these people probably just wanted to be seen or heard, right? So they donate money, they put their struggles in there. Almost like half of the ones he just read were about someone's personal illness. They didn't say anything about Ethan being sick, just that you know, oh, welcome to the club. One of the ones in the spreadsheet he just said, welcome to the club of possibly having lupus. They obviously know that he doesn't have it. Nobody there that he just read donated money because they think that Ethan is actually sick, not because he actually has lupus. They are donating, most likely, if this is even their reason. They could have millions of different reasons to be donating, but most likely just to show solidarity. Here's $5, and hey, I've been through something similar. I've been through those struggles of not knowing what's wrong with me. Keep your chin up, or something like that, you know? I just don't think any of these things he's reading out prove anything like what he's actually saying. There's no malicious energy here, but he's trying to attribute malicious energy to Ethan when that's not happening. It's just not.
He continues to do this for months to come.
Well, you've inspired me. I'm going to get a full panel checkup
Do it.
over
Good.
our
Good,
break.
you should.
So,
I hope all you guys go
glad
do
you
it if you can, because it's really important. You just go in there. It's easy once a year. I mean, it could save your life. Genuinely, it could save your fucking life.
Absolutely.
Thankfully, we have good health insurance. Thank
Well,
you.
You're welcome. Yes. And well, hopefully you guys do too. Otherwise, then I guess you're just gonna have to fucking die broke and without doctors.
Jesus.
What are you saying, man? Ethan said this after already hearing about a fan's boyfriend tragically passing after receiving a lupus diagnosis.
That was a different episode. What does that have to do with anything? That was not the same episode, dude. But also, of course he made that joke. Why wouldn't he? He's making a statement about the healthcare system in our country. He's been open about that before. Just because he's a person that has money doesn't mean that he can't criticize that system. He was a part of that at some point before he had the money that he has. He had to deal with struggles with the healthcare system like any of us have, okay? And he is allowed to make a statement talking about the fact that he is against the way that our healthcare system focuses on money first. Just because he has money doesn't mean he's not allowed to have that opinion. And I don't understand why he thinks that that negates anything.
This is not the only time he says something about how having money gives you more resources for complicated health problems, but later he takes
the
offense
truth.
when people accuse him of being in a better health situation if he has money.
You're rich, you'll be fine. Is that true? Is that it?
Now
not
we move on
always
to the...
true. Just because you have money doesn't mean that you will live because you have enough money to buy it. Like, you still die if you have money, okay? He's allowed to be upset about that, too. That's a valid response that someone says, oh, you have money, you won't die. But that's not true. It's just not. Just because he has money doesn't mean he's going to live. He's allowed to have the opinion that the healthcare system is messed up while also being offended that someone would make it seem like just because he has some money and can afford better treatment that he will not necessarily die, because again, that's not true. He has better options. Yes, he can get a wider scope and more tests done than a lot of people that don't have money can get. But that doesn't mean that he's going to live and that he's going to be fine and that he's not going to have any health struggles at all, because obviously that's not true. That's not the case. He has multiple things wrong with him. You can see that. He has money and he has sickness. Who could have thought they're not mutually exclusive?
Ethan asked one of his crew members to ask their family member who's in the medical field what they thought about his lab results, and this was their response.
Did your family member get back to you?
Yeah, he did, but
He
you're
mentioned
not
my
gonna
titter?
like it because
Notice how she says you're not going to like his answer? Could it be that she knows that Ethan has his mind set on a lupus diagnosis and this medical professional doesn't support that claim?
What? No? Definitely not.
I'll just send you the screenshots.
It's not good, is it?
It's not good or bad. He said it's
Lena just framed it very scary, but no, it's not.
no. Oh, because I said you're not gonna like it. He said it's basically inconclusive. It depends heavily
Exactly.
on the clinical context. A lot of people have positive ANAs and are perfectly normal, and some providers don't even order them because there are so many false positives. And
What about the titter?
What about the titter? The ANA test that Ethan received is the titter. The titer part of Anna titter that Ethan has been talking about literally just measures the presence and amount of antibodies in the blood. This would be like if a doctor said Ethan was 5'6" and Ethan questioned the doctor's tool of measurement.
But
What? No? That doesn't make any sense. Okay. I think that Jake's a little confused. I think that he's a little confused, and the reason I think Lena said you're not going to like it is because there's no answer still. Ethan wants to know, am I sick? Am I not? Is this normal? Is this not? and there's no answer. It's inconclusive. That's, at the end of the day, the test is inconclusive. That's why she said you're not going to like it, because she knows that no answer means more testing. So he has to keep going back to the doctor trying to figure this out. And I just don't like the way that he talks about this, man. I really don't.
Anyway, the point is, I'm going to read it because I want to send love to this person. I've been watching H3 all my life and found this channel to actually lift me out of many depressive episodes. That being said, and I don't even know why I'm wasting my little life. Come on. I have left on Reddit to post my feelings. It didn't take you that long to write this. Right? But anyways, I'm just typing words as I'm thinking. Cancer sucks. My grandma, then my mom, and now me are going to probably die from it. And honestly, it's funny hearing jokes about it. See? And it takes away from the everyday nature of think about dying. God, I love you, H3 fam. No homo.
No homo.
And I hope the podcast...
No homo.
And I hope the podcast lives on for many years after I'm gone. Well, I don't know what your situation is, but we love you. And if there's a chance to beat it, I hope you do.
The person who posted on Reddit said they'll most likely die, and Ethan says, I hope you beat it, which I find so funny because Ethan is the exact type of person to get mad at someone for telling him, I'm sure you're fine. Oh.
I'm sure you're fine. But
why? You're not sure of that.
I'm sure. I know it.
What do you mean you're sure? I don't like when people say that.
I'm sure.
Why are you sure? What gives you the right to tell me that?
Hey, while editing this, I realized I should probably talk about this part a little bit more. Jake implies that Ethan is a hypocrite and compares these two statements. First, he compares when Ethan is talking about the person who posted on Reddit about being diagnosed with cancer, he says to them, quote, if there's a chance you can beat it, I hope you do, unquote. And then 2 episodes of the podcast later, AB says to Ethan, quote, I'm sure you're fine, unquote. Ethan is quite upset by that because AB can't know what's in the future, and it is quite dismissive and a bit invalidating of how Ethan is feeling about all of this. These 2 statements really shouldn't be compared. One is something that you say to most people when you hear that they are diagnosed with cancer. The other is an optimistic but unrealistic statement to try and cheer someone up who is having anxiety about being sick and in the middle of the process with his doctor to figure out what is wrong. This is really apples to oranges here.
Also, Ethan said it's even more possible that he has lupus, but from what he shared, that information has not come from a medical professional, only ChatGPT.
I think I might have fucking lupus. But the weird thing is that I don't really have significant clinical symptoms.
You can tell how disconnected this take is because, as we will later find out, lupus can be a very difficult and stressful diagnosis to get.
That's the weird part about all this, and I guess it's making it hard for them to diagnose because we caught this whole thing by accident. I mean, I was just doing a random checkup, you know, just for health. I hadn't done it in a while, and we switched to a new insurance company, which I'm glad they did because they're so much better. If I was with Kaiser, I don't think I ever would have gone through all this stuff because the bureaucracy is so insane.
I'm going to try to ignore the insanely privileged take that Ethan gave at the end there, saying that the Kaiser Permanente health system wouldn't have helped him, the same health plan that 13 million other Americans are on. And
I've definitely heard stories of Kaiser, a lot of stories of Kaiser causing problems because they don't want to offer a test unless they absolutely believe that it's necessary. That has happened multiple times, and then they also have had situations of people brushing them off. I've seen more than one YouTube video about that type of thing. Also, I wanted to talk about the fact that he's acting like Ethan is saying that he definitely has lupus and that there's more evidence now than there was in the past that he would have lupus. I think that Ethan just said it wrong, which again is something that he does all the time. He was saying that there's a possibility that he has an autoimmune disease, and then he also said in the same sentence there's a chance that he has lupus, and I think what he meant is that there's a chance that the chance that he has lupus is higher than the chance that he has any of those other autoimmune diseases, and that he has to go to a rheumatologist, which he had not done yet. He was talking about the fact that he was going to be, and to get the testing done to see if he has any of those things. I don't think that he was saying there's higher chance now that he has lupus. I think that he said it wrong. And again, Jake is just looking for a way to make anything that Ethan is saying about this situation be negative or be like money grabby or whatever accusations he's trying to make about this. And I just think it's really disingenuous. I don't think that it accurately portrays the situation and the way that things happened, you know.
Also, his employees. Every single one of his employees are on Kaiser through Ethan's benefit package.
Why
I
does it
mean,
say
what
oops
does this
and why does
guy
it come
want?
out
People
like
to
that?
not have insurance and die?
Was he
Thankfully, we
wrong
have
and
good
he
health
just didn't
insurance.
actually fully
Thank
cut it
you.
out?
You're welcome. Yes.
Why is he showing
And,
this clip the
well,
second
hopefully
time?
you guys do too. Otherwise, then I guess you're just gonna have to fucking die broke and without doctors.
Jesus.
Moving on from this, I want to focus more on him saying that there are 0 symptoms. It is very, very rare to have a lupus diagnosis with no symptoms.
Just because it's rare doesn't mean it isn't happening. Plus, he doesn't have 0 symptoms. Again, he has the rashes, and that has been something that has been significantly affecting him on and off for a while now. So he's not saying he has 0 symptoms. He's saying he doesn't have most of the symptoms that are attributed to lupus, but his doctor has still told him that he might have it. You can still have these types of diseases without many symptoms. It is possible. And therefore, you can't just say, oh, he doesn't have lupus, without him actually going through the process and being told by the medical professionals that's not something that he has.
Not saying it's impossible, but with all the other things I've mentioned going against him, Ethan's lupus glory seems to be getting farther and farther away.
My only, I guess,
What does he
symptom
mean
is
by
that, you guys
lupus
remember how I kept
glory?
getting rashes? We thought it was from the fika fish. So I'm getting really mild rashes on my face. You guys remember the one I had a while ago? And then I've been
They're
getting
not
just
mild. They're
slight
pretty
rashes
bad.
here and
They're
here.
actually-
They'll go
he looks
away.
like crap
They're
when it
really
happens.
slight, but that's a
Like, he
symptom
looks
of
ill.
autoimmune disease. Other than that,
Wait, now you have symptoms?
I don't really have significant clinical symptoms.
We can either take this one of two
He
ways.
means most
Ethan
of them he
conveniently
doesn't have,
forgot to
again.
mention his symptoms over the last month or so, or he's scrambling to mention things that could be perceived as symptoms.
No, he's not. This video that he's using happened after he's already talked about the other things that are going on. And he downplayed the rashes when he listed it the first time too, but that doesn't mean it's not still happening. He's downplaying it because he's being told he might have lupus, but he's not really sure, but he knows something is wrong because he is having certain problems, right? He talked about being sleepy when he is driving, and he also talked about, the rashes. But that doesn't mean that he's just pulling out reasons out of his butt just to try to scramble to have a reason to talk about this. Again, I think that he is totally mischaracterizing the way these things are happening. It's crazy how he's actually trying to stretch the truth so far away from what actually happened.
Or they could be eczema. Jeez. I keep bringing up eczema. It's almost like that's what it could be.
Yeah.
Any bone issues?
And
No,
one of
that's
many
the thing. I don't have
possibilities,
joint
I'm sure.
pain. I don't have bone pain. I don't have fuzzy vision. I don't have loss of vision. I don't have any of that shit. I have a
Right.
feeling I have
He has a
lupus.
couple other
I don't know
things,
why.
though.
Have you considered you're faking it?
And he's definitely not
I wish,
faking
man.
symptoms.
I don't
so.
know how to fake a blood test, but I wish I could. Oh yeah, so that's another thing, like tingling in the extremities. I don't have anything like that. I don't have any fucking really symptoms. Like I said, the only reason we've caught this is just pure chance in the blood test. And my mom has an autoimmune disease. She has like ulceritis colitis, I don't know.
I know that this is straying away from the topic at hand, but what does your mom have? Don't you think if autoimmune disease runs in your family and your mom has ulcerative colitis, you would at least know how to pronounce it?
My guess is Lyme. Shut up, Sam. Why you say that? Lyme? I don't think Lyme disease can cause elevated antititer. Let me ask ChatGPT.
Why does he keep making fun of the fact that Ethan can't pronounce words? Especially words that, are like that. Medical conditions? It's not a medical condition that he has. And, again, he's dyslexic, okay? Of course he's gonna get these kind of phrases jumbled in his head. And he's not looking it up right now. He's just talking about the fact his mom has a disease that's an autoimmune disease, and that's another reason, because it's in his family history, why he's going to a rheumatologist to get these things looked into. It's really ableist for him to keep bringing up the fact that he can't say medical terms. Why would he need to be able to say it right? I knew what he meant, and so did Jake, so...
Can Lyme disease cause elevated antititer? Lyme disease caused by a bacteria. It's not typically associated with a rise in antititer. Yeah, I don't think it's Lyme disease. There's not even really Lyme disease here in LA. I think there's like 5 people a year get Lyme disease in LA or less. Yeah.
Okay, so All he did was type in a question to Chat GPT and then read out what it says. Yes, it was wrong, but no one is going on to Ethan's podcast, let alone the episode that this is, because this is the Tuesday episode that you have to be a member to see. You have to pay $5 a month to see this. So no one's going to this thinking that they're getting medical advice that is true and that is accurate. You know what I mean? That's not the purpose of this. He's not a doctor, and it's not some huge crime that he got something wrong because ChatGPT gave him the wrong answer, okay? I understand it sucks that it was not correct. Like, it's not good. It's misinformation. It's not good. But that doesn't mean that you can use this to make it seem like Ethan is a bad person and using the fact that he could be sick to make money, because that is ultimately what he is saying. So I just think that it's so stupid that he's making it seem like Ethan is giving out misinformation on purpose. He is not suspecting Lyme disease in this situation because of his location. He was right. Lyme disease is very rare in the area that he lives, so they were already discounting it. That's why he doesn't feel the need to look it up too much, because he knows it's not that. He's probably already spoken about that with his doctor.
His ChatGPT said that Lyme disease isn't likely to cause an elevated ANA, but I asked ChatGPT myself and it said the complete opposite, almost as if diagnosing via AI chatbots isn't always a reliable way to get medical information.
He's diagnosing how? He has never once tried to diagnose himself or diagnose himself with anything from ChatGPT. Again, he's misrepresenting the situation. He asked it a question and read out what it said. Yes, he was wrong, but that doesn't mean that he is purposefully like spreading misinformation or claiming he has something he doesn't, or whatever he's trying to spin this to make it seem like he's doing. It's just not the case.
I am walking proof of someone who had a positive ANA from Lyme disease. Chronic Lyme is actually very likely to branch off into other autoimmune diseases. Like in my experience, I was diagnosed with psoriatic arthritis, an immune deficiency disorder, and a bunch of other stuff that, to be honest, I don't remember because I was 12 years old and I was trying not to kill myself.
But it's not okay if Ethan makes jokes like that, right? It's not okay for him to make jokes about serious topics, but he's allowed to. Right? He's allowed to, just not Ethan.
According to Los Angeles Public Health, the number of confirmed Lyme disease cases in Los Angeles County has varied from 0 to 8 cases a year. But in the same article, they say the diagnosis of Lyme disease may be difficult because of many other diseases that cause symptoms such as fever, headache, fatigue, and body ache. Laboratory tests are often not sensitive, specific, or consistent and are frequently misinterpreted.
Okay, so I did tell ChatGPT my symptoms, and ChatGPT also thinks the most likely diagnosis is lupus, but there's a chance that I don't have anything and it's just a fluke. But that's I'll be honest, I want to be optimistic about it, but that doesn't make sense to me because there's just too many different signals going off in my blood work. You know what I mean?
This clip brings me so much joy because you will find out at the end of this video that this is a complete lie. ChatGPT never thought that the most likely diagnosis was lupus.
What?
Ever. And Ethan outs himself in the worst way possible. But we have to keep on addressing these claims until we can get to that part. Trust me, it's really bad. The only thing that would be worse would be like Ethan ranking diseases on how much he wants them or something like that.
If I had to pick one, if I had to pick a disease out of a hat between MS and lupus, Dan, can you do a poll? What would you guys rather have, MS or lupus?
Didn't someone bring up MS and that's why he said that? I'm pretty sure.
What I mean? Let's do a poll. Which autoimmune disease is your favorite? We got the poll going, Dan. Let's see. Are you guys team lupus or team MS? Let's go team. Let's go teams. Team lupus taking the lead. Let's fucking go. That's right.
MS is horrible.
Team
of course,
lupus,
everybody would pick
80%.
lupus.
Let's fucking
lupus
go,
is bad
dude.
too, but MS can be extremely debilitating compared
Lupus
to
for Selena.
a lot of people with lupus can still like
Lupus
function
for my girl Selena.
occasionally
Let's
when they're
go
not having
right
bad
now.
flare-ups.
We team lupus out here, boy. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. I'm team lupus out here. On God. Did your doctor actually say it may be lupus or is it just ChatGPT? The doctor's sending me to a rheumatologist. So.
Like I said earlier, my dear Ethan, a referral doesn't mean a diagnosis. And
he didn't say it does. Why does he keep saying that because that he's going to a rheumatologist that he thinks he's diagnosed with lupus? When has he said he has lupus? He has not implied that he actually has lupus or has been diagnosed with it. He's just talking about the fact that he's still ongoing with trying to figure out what's wrong with him. Why does he keep asserting that he's making statements that he's not? I don't understand. Is this whole video rage bait? Like that's what I'm starting to think, is that he doesn't even believe this stuff. He just did it because he knew that, one, he would get people that hate Ethan to watch this video and make money off of them. And then two, the people that love Ethan would flock the video, watch it, comment, and even though it's all negative, it's still stuff that helps his channel. He still gets paid from it. It still helps the algorithm, like all of it. So, you know, I really think at this point, like, none of this stuff he's saying actually makes sense if you actually know the context behind these clips. It's crazy.
hey, that's just not an answer to the question that was asked. Did your doctor actually say it might be lupus, or is it just ChatGPT? Then he proceeds to say the kind of doctor he's going to.
Who says that I don't hook up the fans? Here I am, all my medical records, my deepest, darkest fears. It's all for you guys, right here, right now.
That's an ongoing gag that he keeps releasing things on the Tuesday episode. He's accidentally given out crew phone numbers, credit cards, address information, because there's no button on that episode. He's making a reference to the fact that he gives away everything, including lots of details about what's going on with his medical situation. I don't understand what that has to do with anything.
Buckingham Palace is pleased to announce that I, Ethan Klein, probably have lupus. Big news! Ethan has lupus. Now, I don't have an official diagnosis, I'll be honest. But I think I'd probably do. If there's anything wrong with me, I have lupus. I'm team lupus. So I went to the hematologist, hoping it would be like, you're fine. No, more problems. Anna titer through the fucking roof. 1, 2, 3, 20 is not that high. What do you, stop. That is high. Everybody says it's high. It's a strong positive.
Who is everybody in this situation?
His doctors. All of the doctors he's talking to. Obviously, they would have looked at these results. They're probably telling him that they are elevated.
Because 1 to 320 is elevated, but not, as Ethan says, through the fucking roof. After this, Ethan says again that he diagnosed himself via ChatGPT.
1 to 320,
When did he
dude.
say he diagnosed himself?
Stop it right now. I had a long conversation with ChatGPT about my health.
Oh shit.
And ChatGPT
A running
says
joke, by the way.
all the possible solutions, most likely would be lupus. The other reason that we suspect lupus...
Wait, he went from saying that ChatGPT thinks it's lupus to now we think it's lupus? We in this situation being an AI chatbot in Ethan Klein.
I don't think he means we as in me and ChatGPT. I think he means we as in me and the medical professionals that I am seeing, including the rheumatologist that he is trying to talk about, because now in this episode he has now seen the rheumatologist. He's not waiting to see them. He has seen them now, and he said more problems, they still don't know anything. So I think it's weird he's trying to make it seem like him saying we means him and an inanimate object and an AI on the computer. He's talking about his doctor, dude.
The other reason that we suspect lupus is just because I keep getting these weird face rashes. Now with lupus, you get like these big butterfly rashes. It's very confusing. I don't get any rashes here, but I got a new rash now here, right here on both sides of my nose. It took me a year to determine I had celiac, not lupus. Interesting. But celiac's easy. You just stop eating wheat, right?
Well, for someone in a $9 million house, yes. But for other people who have celiac, like me, for example, it becomes a huge deal because according to a study out of Dalhousie Medical School, on average, gluten-free products were 242% more expensive than regular products.
Okay, that point aside, the fact that it is expensive, he means that the treatment is easy. The treatment is all you have to do is avoid certain foods. I understand that it's expensive. Any kind of medical treatment is going to be expensive. But once you know that you have celiac disease, it's easily manageable by just not eating certain things, right? So in comparison to like lupus, which he is thinking that he has, right? And doctors are telling him he probably has this or that it's possible that he does. they're, in comparison, lupus is a lot worse because there's treatment, but it's not always successful. And even with the treatment, you may still have trouble. There's certain things that are much harder to treat, and that's one of them. So that's what he's talking about, is the treatment is more easy to access. It's harder money-wise, yes, I'm sure, but I'm sure that lupus is also quite expensive to treat. So either way, they're both expensive. It's just that one of them is easier and more clear-cut than the other. That's what he means. And we shouldn't have to break that down. I think Jake knows that's what he means. He just keeps trying to attribute negative things to what Ethan is saying when that's not implied or even something that Ethan would say or do.
I think most people with lupus can live a fairly normal life expectancy, which is good. I'll suffer the whole way. I don't care. I just want to be there for the boys.
I'm sure you're fine. But
why? You're not sure of that.
I'm sure. I know it.
What do you mean you're sure? I don't like when people say that.
I'm sure.
Right.
Why
I'd
are
be
you
kinda
sure?
mad with that
What
too, to
gives
be
you the right
honest.
to tell me that? You go,
not a
man,
doctor.
there's something really bad I'm afraid of happening. I'm sure you're fine. It's like, you're not sure. How do you know?
Ethan's like, yeah, as someone suffering from lupus, I hate when people undermine my issues.
When did he say that as a person who's suffering from lupus? He didn't say that. He said, please don't say that you're sure that I'm fine because we don't know that yet. There could be something wrong with me. I'm not done going through the testing with my doctor. I don't want you to tell me you're sure I'm fine because none of us know that. None of us know for sure that I'm not fine. That's a very common thing with health anxiety. I don't understand why he keeps trying to make these things seem so evil and like he's so malicious about it. None of that is there.
So, lupus isn't that bad, and I'm just glad it isn't cancer.
You know, of all the things it could have been, I'll take lupus, I guess. You know what I mean? Take us a little loopy.
But it's not certain it is lupus, right?
No. I give it maybe a 50% chance lupus.
Is that your chance, or is that what the doctor's saying?
No, the doctor would never give you a percentage
Yeah, they
like
don't do that. They don't do that.
I would say that was potentially after some coaxing of ChatGPT. I forced it to give me.
Okay, bro,
I see.
time out. You gotta stop with that.
So it's possible.
That's the
how
running
likely
joke.
is the possibility that it's nothing?
There's a chance, but it doesn't make sense that it's nothing.
It's slim.
Right.
There's a chance that it's nothing, but like with the white blood cells, the platelets, the anatiter.
Yes, there's multiple
just please
tests
stop
that were
talking
off.
to ChatGPT.
Why? ChatGPT is fucking pro.
Because I feel,
This is a
like in
bit,
this
by the
time,
way.
like you need
That
positivity.
he does this all the
it doesn't
time and
bring
like
me down.
spirals
I
on
need
it.
to
It's
know.
a bit.
I need to know.
Even with an employee telling him to stop looking at ChatGPT after admitting to coaxing it into saying what he wants to hear, Ethan gives "I need to know" as an excuse. I think he already knew the answer a long time ago, but sympathy from people around him felt better than just saying it was from a pre-existing esophageal problem.
He's acting like this is really malicious and that Ethan is doing this just for attention and for donations and all that, but I really just think he's anxious about knowing what's wrong with him. You don't want to keep going to a doctor and hearing that, oh, we don't know what's wrong with you. Let's go do some more testing. Why don't you see this kind of doctor now? And just going from doctor to doctor, not knowing what's wrong. He is having trouble dealing with the thoughts of not knowing what's happening. And that's totally normal. It's a normal thing to do. But, you know, the fact that ChatGPT will tell you anything you want it to is part of it. But the thing is that him using it, he's not saying that he has lupus. He's saying he thinks he does. And there's nothing wrong with him thinking that he does when his doctor said it's a possibility, okay? And again, with the percentages, a doctor would never give you a percentage. Even if there is a percentage, they won't tell you that because they don't want you to spiral. Unfortunately, Ethan has mental health issues, and he's spiraling anyway. This is how he's dealing with it, and the fact that he's even talking about it at all, getting it off his chest, is good. In the end, it's good that he talks about it.
Now my mom is saying she's mad at you for not telling her about this. Yeah, I know, Mom. I didn't tell you about it. I guess I should have expected you hear the show. It's because you would be so annoying about it.
I get it.
You know you would be.
Very mature take here. Mom, you would be so cringe and annoying if I told you my medical worries.
What is wrong with that? His mom is a little bit overbearing anytime anything's wrong. He doesn't want her to worry when he doesn't have an answer for her yet. He doesn't want to say, hey, I might have this, I might have this, I might have that to her because she might be blowing up his phone and stuff, like talking and worried and like upset about it. He doesn't want to worry his mom. What is wrong with that? I don't get it. I don't get what his problem is with that. That's so silly. He didn't want to worry his mom when they don't have a definitive answer yet. That's all it is to it.
I can diagnose myself. I don't like when other people do it.
This to me is the grand slam of all grand slams. I can diagnose myself. I don't like when other people do it.
It's a joke. Jake, do you not get the joke? Did it go over your head? It's a joke. He's making a joke about the fact that he spiraled and went on the ChatGPT, which everybody around him, including him, knows is not good. He knows that he's spiraling on there, but that's how he feels about the situation, is that it's possible that he has lupus and he's worried about it. He's allowed to feel that way. And him making a joke about it, it's not weird. How is it so wrong that he would make a joke that he's only the one that can diagnose? He's making a joke about the fact that he is looking too much into what could be wrong with him, which all of us do, just not usually to that much of an extent. You know what I mean? I just don't understand why he thinks this is such a banger. Like, what he think he did something here? He didn't. He definitely didn't.
I'm not even going to speculate what he means by this because I want you as the viewer to think about it on your own. But let's just take everything into context. Ethan Klein had no symptoms, got a routine checkup, had some elevated levels. Doctor said it was fine and most likely related to a prior medical issue. Then Ethan admittedly coaxed ChatGPT into telling him he likely has lupus.
Yes, which his doctors also
believe.
believe.
30% people have abnormal antititers and do not have lupus. Rely on your symptoms more. So my symptoms is part of the confusing part. I don't really have any of the. Okay, this is interesting. This is from you, Cam?
No, Ethan. We were getting somewhere and you cut yourself off with something unrelated an employee sent you. Someone donated their hard-earned money to give you a very valid suggestion, and because it was more logical than anything Ethan said in this episode, he brushed it off.
Why didn't you say something to us?
Oh, well, it's just, I don't know for sure, you know what I mean? It's just something I've been thinking about. I don't know what it is.
Wait. That directly contradicts Ethan saying at the beginning of this segment,
Buckingham Palace is pleased to announce that I, Ethan Klein, probably have lupus.
He can think he has lupus and also say, I don't really know. You can think you have it and also think that you might be wrong. When you don't have an answer yet, you can feel both those things at the same time. It's a very confusing time trying to get a medical diagnosis. I don't understand why he thinks it's so weird.
It's almost like talking to his mother who has a history of chronic illness makes Ethan shut down, or at least realize his claims are wild. His mother goes on to try and talk to him in a more understandable, less ChatGPT diagnosy way.
Well, you do get tired.
There it is, you see?
Well, it could be a number of things. Maybe you're just anemic.
Ethan didn't tell his mom or his wife.
I'm glad I talked about it because I've been stressing hard since this morning.
Yeah, I didn't even know.
About his thoughts until they were brought up on the show, which backs my argument that this was all content brain.
No, there's no way, okay? I don't know how he's going to imply that he only brought this stuff up on the show. They start pretty early in the morning. I bet you that there's some times where they don't really have a chance to talk much until they get in and get on the show. They stream, it used to be 5 times a day. At this time it's 4 now, but at the time they were doing 5 streams a day, or a week. I mean, they were doing 5 streams a week. So I think it's weird to imply that just because he didn't tell his mom, who is a chronic worrier and would have worried for him, or to not have told his wife until after when they're on the show. It's not just for content. You can tell by the way that he talks about it that he is insanely worried. This is not just because he thinks that he needs to talk about it to make money, because he's already doing fine without talking about any health struggles. So I don't see why he would need to do that. It's just not something he would need to do.
If it wasn't for content, then maybe, just maybe, this would have stayed off the internet. I'm talking on YouTube about my experiences 15 surgeries and 2 years after being directly affected. Going through health problems are a very difficult time, and turning it into content while undermining other people's experiences is a huge problem.
How is he undermining other people's experiences by speaking about his health anxiety and talking about how hard it is when you don't know what's wrong with you, but you know that something is going on? How is that harmful? I don't understand how he's making it seem so malicious.
A few episodes later, Ethan gives another health update where he says that he had a CBC panel and everything came back lowered and within the normal to high range. Then Ethan finally goes to the rheumatology appointment where the doctor gives him this information.
Yesterday, I saw a rheumatologist. This facial rash I'm getting here, I'm getting it at the corner of my eyes, and I'm getting it here on my nose. So that was one of the concerns. Lupus causes facial rash, but he told me, and which is kind of what I read, is that lupus rash is pretty much all
on the cheeks.
Yeah, it's all right here in
Yeah,
this
they said
kind
it
of
was called
area. I have
butterfly
not had
rashes
any
or
rashes
something.
there. So he looked closely at the rashes and stuff, and he says he believes it to be eczema, most likely.
Eczema outside of his prior medical condition? This is the only time we've gotten a fucking diagnosis.
Why is he yelling and being so sarcastic about this? Eczema had not been mentioned at all yet within any of the H3 podcast stuff. So now that he's been told that it could be eczema and likely not lupus, he actually has had an answer, right? He's seen someone who knows a little bit more about this stuff and has gotten probably the answer that he was looking for. But that doesn't mean that it wasn't justified that he thought he could have lupus because he was told by someone he might.
After all this,
I'm not done,
you
bitch.
got, okay, all right.
Finish.
Just some eczema.
I'm not fucking
You had us
done,
all
dude.
worrying. Okay, all right.
No, eczema doesn't cause a positive ANA, Dan.
Oops! Ethan, I know that we were responding in the heat of the moment, but that's very false. It can actually cause a positive ANA. According to a study out of Nippon Medical School, 20 to 30% of patients with a...
Okay, 20 to 30% of people can have a positive ANA. He was probably told or looked it up on Google or AI that it's not very common. So that's probably why he said that. Again, he's not a medical professional. He's allowed to be wrong on certain things that are outside of his scope. He doesn't know these things because he's not a doctor. He doesn't have to know every little thing about a disease that he thought he might have, but doesn't actually have, okay? He's allowed to be wrong.
Atopic dermatitis, also known as eczema, are positive for anti-nuclear antibodies. Finally, we are at the part that forced me to make this video. As a viewer, I gave Ethan the benefit of the doubt until this happened.
The rheumatologist, after checking more of my blood points, doesn't believe that I have lupus. There's other biomarkers for it, and they were all negative.
Really?
But my facial rashes are just getting worse. They're not going away. He told me next step is to see a dermatologist and see if they can tell us what they think about these rashes. So I stopped treating it with this steroid Vaseline shit, and it's just coming back so much. I'm gonna try to get it as bad as it can just naturally be so the derm can get a good look. Are you mad that I don't have lupus, Dan?
I'm not mad, but
You seem mad.
You seem annoyed that I don't have lupus.
this man's been farming lupus for a month.
So true.
There is something wrong.
Okay, that's fair.
The best guess was lupus.
Exactly.
Sorry, I don't have lupus, Dan.
Was it the best guess or was it your guess?
No, it was the
it
best guess. It was
ChatGPT's guess?
suspected. It was the most likely.
All right.
Okay,
okay. Well, I'm glad you don't have lupus, obviously.
Doesn't sound like it. Okay, to be fair, I'm going to confess something to you guys. I told ChatGPT all of my symptoms.
Yeah.
And I said, make a list based on how likely you think it is. Lupus was number one, but there was one I didn't tell you guys that was above lupus.
Uh-oh.
It was that I'm probably fine.
Of course it's going to say you're probably fine.
I said, do you think what's more likely, lupus or that it's just
Everybody
a false
said he's
reading?
probably
And they said
fine,
most
but he
likely
had
it's a false
symptoms.
reading based on the stats and no symptoms.
You are diabolical.
But it was close. It was close. They had to crunch the numbers.
That was real close.
You would literally sign off. You'd be like, all right, guys, I've got lupus.
No, I genuinely believe I
That
had
did
lupus.
not-
The
that did not
antititer
happen.
still raised. People don't know. And I'm inflamed, man. It's not nothing.
Right, he has symptoms.
Well, fuck. Before we dig into that a little bit more, let's break down the sentence he just said. I told ChatGPT all of my symptoms, and I said, make a list based on how likely you think it is. Lupus was number one, but there was one I didn't tell you guys that was above lupus. It was that I'm probably fine. And then laughter ensues. This whole time, ChatGPT never told you it was fucking lupus.
First of all, ChatGPT doesn't diagnose you. Okay, he asked it for a list of things, and the first thing it said was, you're probably fine, but if you have something, the most common thing you would probably have would be lupus. That was number one. It was saying you're probably fine because it probably is trying to not get you to freak out. Even with the script, sometimes it'll say stuff like that. So I really don't think this is, again, as big as he thinks it is.
You're the only person that said it was lupus. You can't even blame AI on this. AI said that you were most likely fine.
But he's not fine because he does have something wrong with him. Why is he ignoring that part? He has something wrong with him.
And you admitted it. And you took donations from people who actually have this fucking diagnosis and everything was okay. Later on, we find out.
Do you know how often Ethan tells people to charge back their donations? He would never show that in this video, but he has done that so many times. When people that are sick, people that are struggling financially, if they say something like that in their comment and it's enough that Dan reads it out, he tells them to charge back YouTube and take it. He's done that so many times. He's also paid for people's medical bills too. So the fact that he is making it seem like this was all a charade, that for a month he pretended he thought he had lupus, and that he was just doing it for content and to make money, and none of the things that he's shown in this video so far have anything close to that level, okay? None of this stuff is anywhere near the way that Jake is implying that these things happened, okay? It's so silly to me that he thought that this would work. The only people that are going to believe this are people that don't like Ethan already and will believe anything negative about him.
That he lied about having lupus to someone with lupus's face.
I'm inflamed.
In one of the interviews on the red carpet, he had a lupus bonding with one of the girls there.
You fiend! You can't do that.
Well, I said I might. She said, "What's the problem you're dealing with right now?" I don't know. I was going to say, "Oh, my dog's dying." I wasn't going to say that.
Stolen valor.
Baker.
What's your problem?
I have lupus. I think I have lupus. I blame everything on lupus. Lupus Queen. Yeah, that's what's happening. Yeah.
It's the joke. Oh my god, it's the joke. After he first talked about the fact that he might have lupus, any single thing that happened, everybody blamed it on lupus. Again, he said, I have lupus, and realized he should qualify it. I think I have lupus. I think I do. Because he was still at that time in the middle between knowing and not knowing.
Some people outside the chronic illness community may be wondering why any of this matters. Here's a clip to show you why.
Look at this, you guys, from the subreddit. You guys are so out of control.
This is also a Tuesday episode, by the way.
Today I found out my boss has lupus, and I laughed in her face. I had literally never heard of it before the H3 episode, and it was such a funny bit to me when she told me she was upset. Yo, y'all gotta stop. You can't let the show affect you out there in the real life. You can't laugh in someone's face when they tell you have lupus.
Right,
I was never
he's
telling you guys
disavowing
as a joke. Lupus is a very serious problem, you guys. It's a very serious condition. Frankly, y'all shouldn't have been laughing at me. I might still have lupus.
It was such a funny bit to me. I doubt that the original poster was the only one who felt this way. There's a difference between jokes and actual real-life diseases, and I feel like if you aren't experiencing that disease or symptoms yourself, then maybe you shouldn't share this quote bit with your millions of followers.
He thought he had the disease because the doctors told him he might. I still don't understand why he's trying to seem like Ethan pulled the word lupus out of his ass. He didn't. He just didn't. And I really think it's so silly that he's trying to act like this whole thing has been insanely harmful to the lupus community. I really don't think anyone has been affected in such a bad way that this video needed to be made. So I just watched through 2 of the interviews that he did with people who had lupus. They explained their stories about how they were diagnosed and the struggles that they had, being misdiagnosed and other things like that. But the thing is I'm going to skip them because while it is sad that those things happened to them and I feel for them that they went through that, it has nothing to do with the topic at hand. What do these people's stories with lupus have anything to do with the fact that Ethan thought that he had lupus during a health struggle time where he didn't know what was going on with him and that it was a possibility that he had it? It just doesn't have anything to do with this. It's why I'm skipping it. I'm sorry to them, but it doesn't have anything to do with it. He kind of put them in a weird position, too, because of the amount of hate this is getting, because it's so stretching the truth. he probably shouldn't have even included these interviews he did at all. Again, they have nothing to do with anything, and it's only putting these people out there, and it's possible that they still get found out who they were.
After I asked these people to share their stories, I sent them a compilation of all the claims that Ethan made lupus-wise. Here are some of their thoughts. I can understand that he's going through a lot right now, and it's scary to know that something's wrong with you, but he really leaned headfirst into the lupus thing when there was no evidence really pointing to it. It's just...
He had one of the symptoms of it and had been told by someone that it could be that. He did have a symptom of it.
It's really frustrating to me that he decided that he most likely had lupus and then told everyone before he had actually seen the rheumatologist who told him it was not lupus.
What is wrong with that? I don't understand what is wrong with thinking you could have something and talking about it. It's health anxiety. That is a mental health struggle that some people have. Now, it's obvious Ethan has it, so why is he being so critical about the fact that someone who thought they had something wrong with them that was way more serious than what it actually ended up being, what is wrong with them talking about it? I still don't understand that main premise there, is what is wrong with him talking about it while he is waiting for an answer.
I just wish that he would have waited for an actual diagnosis to talk about things and wait for things to be ruled out. It feels really invalidating the way he talks about lupus. Like, to him, it's just not that serious. I get that maybe in the background he was really sorting through all his emotions, but from the clips that I saw, it felt like a slap in the face.
I don't understand how this is a slap in the face just because someone else has the disease while he is waiting to see if he has it. He's supposed to go months without talking about this. Again, he streams 5 days a week at this time. He's supposed to not talk about it for several hours of each of those 5-day streams that he does every week for months waiting for an answer. How is that something you can expect from someone who is talking so much about their life all the time online? You really can't expect them not to talk about something that important for so long. He's allowed to speak about the fact that he thinks something could be wrong with him. And just because he didn't end up having that disease doesn't mean it's not valid that he had fear over being diagnosed with this disease.
Here's what another person said. You can have lupus and continue to test negative for it. It is a constant struggle for some of my friends with lupus, but you have to have symptoms to even be diagnosed with or without a positive test. Inflammation does not automatically equal lupus or any specific autoimmune disease. This whole situation made me so angry I could not even put it into words, especially when people with chronic illness are already fighting so hard every single day to just exist. Now people are shitting on it.
Who is doing that? Nobody is diminishing any of the struggles these people have been through just because he thought he might be diagnosed with it and that could be what he had. I don't understand how people think that they're thinking that they can't, these two things can't happen at once. These people can be going through these struggles and actually have this disease while at the same time Ethan can think he has this disease while he's unsure and going through the process of getting a diagnosis, and both of these things are valid. I understand that they might be upset about it because of their struggles. They take it a little more personally. I totally get that. But you know, you can't just hold Ethan to these such high standards of you can't talk about it until you know for sure. I don't understand how you can try to make someone who talks that much not be able to talk about something that they're going through, especially when it's related to anxiety. He's allowed to talk about his mental health struggles.
A person wrote back to me and said, he started off by saying he doesn't know what lupus is, and then proceeded to read every single symptom of it and say, no, I don't have that, which to most people I would think would lead them to look at other options. Just for fun, I looked up my numbers from when I was hospitalized, and my ANA was 1 to 1,280 and speckled. Another note, the test that is more specific to lupus diagnosis is actually the dsDNA, not the ANA. I don't want to denigrate how hard it can be to get a diagnosis for lupus, or most autoimmune diseases, because it's really fucking hard. But it doesn't sit right with me that his reason for not being able to get diagnosed is that he doesn't have symptoms of the disease. He just has a feeling he has it. I don't know. It's frustrating. Lastly, I sent in clips to a medical professional with 27 years of experience, making sure to highlight all of his tests and his symptoms. The doctor wrote back to me with these thoughts. Lupus is definitely a difficult diagnosis and not one made purely on lab results. In fact, the lab test results are many times very nebulous. So working with a physician to review labs, diagnosis, and course of symptoms is very important. People want to...
He did work with doctors. He got those results and was looking at them before he spoke to his doctors about it. I swear that when he spoke to these people, he misrepresented the situation to them, or they just didn't know much about what he actually said.
Black and white lab answer that is a yes or no, but that doesn't exist for this. It also doesn't exist for a lot of rheumatologic diseases, and it's not uncommon to get a lot of worried patients over, quote, abnormal labs that really aren't that abnormal. For example,
it's okay
out of
for him
range
to
doesn't
be
mean
there,
something
though,
bad is
upset
going
about
on.
it.
This is different from strep test, for instance, where the answer is strep positive or strep negative. Because lupus itself is so variable, many folks read about their symptoms on the internet and come up with the diagnosis when in fact they end up not having lupus. In regards to ChatGPT, if I understood correctly, AI actually said it was probably not lupus. So in that case, I would say the AI was spot on.
It said that you're probably fine, which he had other symptoms, he's not fine, or the most common thing is lupus. But that doesn't mean that it said, no, you're not sick. Oh my god. I keep having to clarify things I shouldn't have to clarify.
So I guess that's it. I have spent 4 months gathering information
4
on
months?
Ethan.
This happened 5 months ago, and he spent 4 of those 5 months collecting all this information? You mean misinformation about misrepresenting the things that Ethan has actually said or done? Oh my god.
And his claims. If all else fails, I hope that at least one person after watching this video understands a little bit more about lupus, chronic illness, why it's insane to make claims like this.
He just called him insane for having health anxiety. This, I'm not even going to show the rest of this video because I'm pretty sure he's about to talk about his nonprofit and stuff. And there's only like 20 seconds left. I can't believe that he made this video. I don't know what he was thinking. I think that maybe he just doesn't have anything else to make a video about. I think he's running out of ideas. And I also think that he's still salty about Ethan not looking over his resume or hiring him onto the podcast or helping him get a job at all. And then now he's a fallen fan because he thinks that Ethan claimed to have lupus, lied about it for months, pretended he had something he knew he didn't, and tried to make money off of it. But that's just the thing. That's all a mischaracterization of what actually happened, and if you have seen all the clips and actually watched them and not tried to take any little negative thing out that you can about it, this was just a person going through a hard time, talking about that, and later finding out that they were incorrect, obviously, because they're not a doctor, and they just went off of what they were told or what it could be, and spiraled down that path, right? And it's totally valid for him to talk about it. I just can't believe that he's gonna sit here, try to be mad at Ethan for self-diagnosing, but then going on to try to diagnose Ethan himself. It doesn't make any sense. He keeps talking about the eczema thing, but he's not a doctor either. It's just this whole video is hypocritical. It's hypocritical, and it didn't need to be made. And I think that he's going to see a lot of negative effects from this, because I know that he's lost at least some subscribers. His views are definitely down. I looked at his social blade. He went from like, I don't know, it was like 50 to 80,000 views a day to like only like 9 to 12 a day or something like that. He's not getting nearly as much as he was. And this really, to me, just screams clout goblin behavior. He really wanted to get some attention for this. He was a fan only 5 months ago. Now he's a fallen fan, and he's just trying to attract that attention of the people that also don't like him. I think this was really unnecessary, and I don't think that this video ever needed to be made. So, I really hope that Ethan and Hila just do not ever respond to this, not on the Ethan Klein channel, not on the Ethan and Hila channel, and not on the podcast, because honestly, this shouldn't take up any of their time. He should not be criticized for having struggles with dealing with mentally the fact that he could be sick. There's nothing wrong with what happened there. And he didn't cause any harm by talking about lupus. You could see that he even talked to people, and they, for the first time, heard about lupus that had never heard about it before. So I really just don't think that any of this was ever malicious, and the way that Jake tried to stretch these occasions where he talked about it out into something that they aren't was really disingenuous. I think it was really messed up, but alright, that's it. I'm glad to be done watching this video because I have spent all day watching this thing with you guys, and I do not want to be here anymore. So All right, well, thanks for watching. If you like what you see here, give me a like and give me a subscribe if you're up for it. I mean, I'm definitely going to be making some other videos. I have some plans for things I'm going to post soon, and I'm going to make more commentary videos like this as well about things that I see online, because this type of thing, I really was quite offended by this when I found out that he actually posted a video, a 45-minute video, trying to diminish what happened to Ethan and the fact that he thought he might have lupus. The whole thing was a bit, it was a joke, and I don't think that anything that Jake said accurately portrays the situation. And if you're unsure, just go ahead and watch all the clips from it yourself, unedited on the H3 podcast channel, without someone showing you only the bits that they think make him look bad. All right? Take care, guys. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye!